All right, hello everybody. Today we're going to dive back into the world of word prediction apps. So we're going to look at some writing tools here, or a writing tool that really is actually a pretty nice tool for somebody that has a high incidence learning disability that might struggle with writing. It's a nice writing support. It's called App Writer US. It also has a component to it that may be the best that I've seen to this point at allowing you to snap a picture of text and turn it into something that can be read out loud. So we'll take a look at both of those aspects of this. You can see App Writer US right here. That's what our icon looks like for it. It retails for $29.99, which isn't too bad for something like this. I'm going to open that up and we'll take a look at kind of how it works. So what you see here when you open it up is just a main page with all your files that you have in App Writer. If you want to start a new one, you would tap on plus and you get create a document, scan a document, or import a document from Google Docs. That scan document is where we would take a picture of something and have it turned into text. I'm going to just hit create a document and basically show you how this acts as a word processor. So if I create a document, this is what my blank document is going to look like. Just taps into the regular keyboard. We've got a few options up across the top. But when I start typing here, what this is going to do is we'll say this is an example of word prediction. So as I start typing, you're going to see it's going to pop up a word prediction option on there for me. If I see the word that I want, I can tap on it. It adds it into our document. Right now I have it set where I still have to hit a space bar, and then it starts predicting the next word for me. And I can kind of go through and it's still predicting. This is, let's go back and say an example. There's example. Now if I look at this and I don't know if any of these words are example or not, this is where it can be kind of helpful to me. Where that play button is, if I tap the play button, it reads that word out loud, and that was a little bit quiet. So let's see if we can crank this up here and get that so you can hear it. So if I hit the play button, example, then I can hear what that is. And so when I get to the word that I want, when I listen to it, I can hit example, and it's going to add that in for me. So if I keep going of, and then I can say word, and I don't see word in there. Now let me take a look at this though too. It's supposed to do a pretty good job of phonetic spell guessing. So if I maybe don't know how to spell word, I say W-U-R-D, and I know that that's not right, but it's close. I can look through my list. I can press the play button here. Word. And when I find the one I want, I can select that, and it changes it into my document for me. And then once I've added all of this in, and I want to make sure, I want to go back and look at my sentence and make sure I've done what is written what I've wanted to write. After I've hit a sentence, I can hit the play button up in the top corner here. When I hit play, this is an example of word prediction. It's going to read and it's going to highlight as it goes through. So you're going to see that highlighting, you're going to see the words reading. The voice is pretty good. It's a pretty natural sounding voice. Another thing I want you to notice with this, and it may be hard to tell through this computer screen, this uses a special font called the Dyslexie font. And what that Dyslexie font does is it kind of alters the way the letters appear to make it easier for somebody with dyslexia to be able to decode those letters. And it makes them it focuses on being a little bit thicker toward the bottom of the letter to anchor the word toward the bottom. Also capital letters and capital letters and punctuations show up even thicker to kind of delineate between the beginning and the end of a sentence for somebody. But they focus on kind of that thicker part of the letter being the bottom there to anchor it. And also when you would have something like an H or an N, it would accentuate some of those features to be able to make somebody differentiate between those two. So that can be kind of helpful with word prediction. So downside of something like this, if we're looking at trying to predict something here, if you want to listen, you have to hit the play button. If you hit just off to the side of the play button and you're trying to hit the play button, it's actually going to enter that word in the document for us. Also, it doesn't have the use of the word in a sentence or a definition. It's just reading the word out loud. But, you know, that's helpful as well. Another way that we can look at the prediction here is if we hit this button with the arrow pointing up, it's going to take, instead of having our word prediction follow our cursor when we start typing, oop, that's not supposed to happen. Let me do that again. Make sure we've got that. There we go. You can see now the word prediction goes to right on top of the keyboard down here as opposed to up following the cursor. So it gives us a little bit of flexibility on what we want to do and how we want to do that there. Not a whole lot otherwise with prediction in terms of settings. I will show you this though. If you go into the settings button, so that gear is always our settings right there. We go into the gear, we have share, appearance, profile, and then about, app, writer, US. For all the stuff that you want to deal with, for all the things you might want to change, you're going to want to go into profile. And you have to set up a profile. So when you set up a profile, what's nice about this, any iPad that you go to use that has App Writer US on it, you can log into your profile and it automatically sets your settings to it. But you can't get to your settings unless you set up a profile. So here we go. We can set up a profile and have it read in one of these languages. Once we choose the language, it gives us the next screen. With read aloud, what that lets us do is we can have it read every word as we enter it, every sentence as we edit it. We can change the speed. We can choose a voice between a male or a female. We can also add things. So we've got a dictionary here. We can add words to our dictionary. So I will guarantee you my last name is not in the standard dictionary. So I'll just type it into this dictionary, and now it should pop up in my word prediction for me. So it's been added. We can also add, if we look here into the phonetic spelling, we can add how somebody might phonetically spell something into this if we want. You can see lots of, A's as OW's, A's as IGH. We can go through and we can add something into this if we want as well to improve how it recognizes our phonetic spellings. We can also set this to Autospace after we enter a word, so it'll automatically choose a space in there. But just to show you that it now has accepted the thing that I entered for my name, I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to change this back, and I'll put in my name is Jim, and then we'll start going with, and their ST, and my last name pops right up to the top. Now, it probably isn't going to pronounce it correctly. It does not, but I recognize it on there. I can select it and add it in there. So we can really easily add words to our own personal dictionary in there as well, and that can be a real helpful component to writing here. So it's a pretty simple writing tool, but can be very effective for students. And I want to take you back to the Documents button for a second. We'll go back to Documents, and I want to show you what happens if we add a document and we scan something. So this is another really nice feature of this. If we hit Scan, it's going to ask me, I'm going to take this and I'm going to change it for a second because I'm going to have to hold it over a paper that I'm going to scan in here. It shows us how we can scan something into our iPad using our picture. So you can either choose, if you look at the bottom, you can choose from an album, from a picture you already have, or from the camera. So I'm going to go right to the camera, and it'll open up the camera, and then I've got a document right here. So I'm going to hold this over my document, and we'll let it make sure that it's looking at that document, and then I'm going to take a picture of it. Okay, so now I'll flip this back since I'm not looking at the document anymore. It might be easier to see. So now it asks me if I want to retake this or if I want to use it. And I think everything's fine with it. It looks like it was pretty clearly taken. So I'm going to hit Use. And then if I need to touch it up, I can touch it up. I mean, most likely the only thing you may be doing is cropping things. So I will crop this a little bit. And actually it's finding the page for me. It's cropping out exactly what I wanted to get rid of, which was the table here. And I'll hit Done. And then up at the top, once you've set this up the way you wanted, you go up to the top where it says Scan. And if you tap Scan, it's going to run optical character recognition on this, processing it in English. And it's going to give us a pretty good, actually that is not good at all. It was better yesterday when I did it. So that one, I mean, I guess we had some problems in the beginning here, maybe with some of the keywords, maybe with some of the citations up at the top. But if we scroll down into like the bulk of this article, it does start to get better. Let me just show you. I'm going to open up a test document here. And this is the one I did. This is a picture I took yesterday. So when I was when I wasn't sitting in a desk chair, and I tried to do a little bit better job of getting it under the light and zeroing in on it, this is what I got when I took a picture of this. So it really is important. If you're going to take a picture and get it to run OCR, you're going to have good lighting. You're going to have to have a steady hand when you're holding that camera, not trying to do something else. Probably have to stand up over it to center it on the page. And you also have to use an iPad, the new iPad or higher. The iPad 2 has a garbage camera compared to the new iPad, and it will not work with something like this. You have to have one of the new iPads to have a good enough camera to take a picture that something can generate text from here. But what's cool about this is once we've generated this text, we can open it up, find where we want to start reading, and hit play.
The Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act of 2004, IDEA, requires assistive technology, AT, be considered as a yearly individualized education program, meeting of every student.
So again, this is something else, as we've seen with lots of reading tools, it's going to have a problem with reading abbreviations. But here, it went through. This is just a picture of the article that you'd seen before. It went through and it OCR'd it very well, and it's able to read it very well as well. So we could also bring in things from Google Docs and have it read in here. Basically, you just hit Documents, you hit Add, Import from Google Docs. It asks you to sign into Google Docs. You can bring something in and have it read. As long as it is text. If you're bringing in a visual, you would have to go through the scanning process first. So again, with this, there's two big components to it. It's kind of odd that these are the two components. There's the component for, let me get to the writing. We've got our writing help. So we've got our word prediction in here that can help us with writing. We also have the capability to bring in images either from our camera or from our camera roll that are already on our document. So maybe if you have an iPad 2, the best way, if you have an iPhone as well, the best way to get some of this text on your iPad to read with App Writer US might be to take a picture with your iPhone, because even some of the older iPhones have better cameras than the iPad 2. Send them to your iPad and then run the scan through the album, and you should be able to get a pretty good picture with this. So that's the gist of App Reader US. It's fairly simple, but a really powerful program. And for the money that I've seen, well, it's the only combination of scanner and word prediction tool that I've seen. But scanning-wise, this is probably the best one going. And then having the dyslexia font to help students with dyslexia is a real helpful component as well. So that's App Writer US. I'd certainly recommend this, and if you have questions on it, feel free to shoot me an email at james-stachowiak@uiowa.edu.